everybody, and welcome back to my podcast, Esme's Country Life. Today's episode, you might have seen the title, and it's called Why I Love Having Horses in the Winter. And when you first read that, you might be like, Esme, are you being sarcastic? Like, what do you mean? Why do you love having horses in the winter? And I've wanted to put having rather than owning, because I know so many of you out there either like lease a horse or loan a horse or share a horse, or some of you guys are in the riding school, and there are lots of different ways of looking after or having horses in your life. And some of you might be watching or listening and be like, Esme, I don't even have horses in my life, but if you're interested in country things, then you're probably going to be outside in the winter, if that's dog walking, country walks, that kind of thing. So even if you aren't interested in horses, today's episode is going to be for you, because we are going into winter and there's a lot to talk about. And a lot of us, as it gets a little bit darker and gloomier and colder and wetter, you're probably thinking, oh, we're going into the worst months, really pessimistic and down about it. But after listening to today's episode, I might be able to change your thoughts on that. But anyway, before we begin, I just want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of the podcast, Red Post. Red Post is an equestrian and country store based in the UK, but they also ship all over the world. One product that Red Post sell that I need to tell you guys about, and that is the Lemure Reflective Exercise Sheet. In the winter, I use this on my horses all the time when I'm riding them. Even if I'm not riding on the road and I don't need the reflectiveness, it's great for warming your horses up, especially if they're clipped. Having an exercise sheet on just when you're warming up and walk and trot and getting them moving, having that warmth is so great for their muscles. And also, if you're hacking, even if it's not dark, having that reflective sheet is brilliant, especially like in the winter when it's a little bit gloomier, when it's a little bit cloudier. That sheet works wonders. So you can check that out at redpostequestrian.co.uk. Anyway, let's get into today's episode. So I just want to start off with saying a shout out to all of my friends in the Southern Hemisphere, because you guys, I know you're not going into winter. You're currently going into spring, summer. So good for you. Have a lovely time. Anyway, but you never know, you can be laughing at us in the rain and the cold, or if you're just in a warm country in general and you just have the warm life all year round. Good for you. We don't have that. Anyway, today's podcast episode, I'm going to be talking about, as I said before, the pros, the good things, because I would say I'm a rather optimistic person. I feel like things always work out in the end. I don't know, if somebody said, I always think of the glass half full, glass half empty. If somebody said, is it half full, half empty? Well, I'll be like, it's half full if you've just filled it, but it's half empty if someone's drunk half of the water out of it, you know? That's kind of how I'd see it. But anyway, I would say I'm more of a glass half full person. But anyway, we're going to start off with pro number one, and that is mud versus dust. Also, if you're in a country where it doesn't get that wet, I'm sorry, this one is not for you. Don't worry, there'll be more pros and cons for you later. But you might be thinking, Esme, how is mud better than dust? I'm going to tell you, because when you think about it in the winter, when you need to groom your horse so they're a bit muddy, if they have a rug on, it's just their legs really that get muddy. And what can you do? Grab a hose pipe, rinse off their legs, bam, their legs are clean, easy, takes a couple of minutes. But in the summer, if your horse has been out naked, they've been having a dust bath, they've been rolling around, that dust sticks. And that dust, you could be brushing your horse for an hour and that dust will still be there. You'll get dust all over your clothes, dust over everything, mud, a little bit of a hose pipe, boom, 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 all clean. Also, giving your horse a full clip in the winter. I don't know what it is, but horses in the winter I just think look so smart compared to horses in the summer. Like a horse with a full clip. Oh my goodness. I feel like you could get any horse, give them I don't know why, but I just think a horse can go from like a 7 to a 10. If you give them a full clip, if you use a brand new white clean saddle pad, or just like a really white saddle pad with their tack, and put some hoof oil on, bam, that horse looks incredible, smart, that kind of thing. But that is my biggest top tip for the winter, is giving your horse a full clip, because you can put rugs on. You can put rugs on so they don't get cold. Perfect, easy. But also, when it comes to washing them, it is so easy, because you just need to do like a few wipes, bam. The stable stain, it is gone. A few wipes, bam, they're dry. In the summer, even with their summer coat, like I think with Casper, there's been a few summers where I have just given him a full clip every summer, because Casper's coat, he is a native. He He has a very thick, coarse kind of coat. And even in the summer, I'll wash him and it will still take like quite a while to dry. But in the winter, when they're fully clipped, easy. They dry so quickly. And then if they get cold, just put lots of rugs on them. So that is my top tip. Also, in the winter, I think my horses stay cleaner because Casper's the sort of horse, he hates the wind, the rain, that kind of thing. So what does he do? He doesn't roll in the wet, muddy patches because it's too wet for him. He's like, no, don't want to get myself wet. No, thank you. So he actually stays cleaner in the winter. And then when he goes out in the kind of rain and stuff, his face gets so clean because the rain just cleans it. So I'm like, perfect. Winter, my horses are actually cleaner. And another little top tip I have is get yourself some baby oil, wipe it on all of their legs, and then if they get kind of, especially in the autumn where it's that kind of like medium mud, where it's like a little bit wet, a little bit dry, kind of clayey, claggy, that kind of thing, when it dries, just brush it right off. Easy. There we go. So that is my top tip for keeping your horses clean in winter. And when you do give them like the only place that I'd say they really get dirty is with my greys is their tail. But a tail is so easy to wash. You either grab a bucket or a hose pipe, give it a little rinse, put a bit of shampoo on, rinse it off again, give their tail a little shake. Easy. You don't have to worry about, them being wet or damp or that kind of thing and putting tack on afterwards because it's their tail. Nothing touches their tail. Easy peasy. So there we go. Cleaning horses in winter isn't as difficult and isn't as bad as you think. And also, after you've clipped a horse and you use hot oil on them, especially on you guys that have bays and chestnuts and black horses, oh my goodness, it makes them look so shiny. It's like a nice little moisturize. Even Casper, who is a grey, even he looks shiny afterwards. So there we go. Just think how smart and how non-dusty your horse is going to be this winter, because that is one thing that makes me excited for winter. A nice freshly clipped horse. It's chef's kiss. So with the mud and the rain, you're going to be doing less poo picking. In the summer, think about, trugging around with a big old wheelbarrow, having to go all the way across your horse's paddock, doing all the poo picking, and then the grass is long, so then your fork gets stuck in the grass and that kind of thing. In the winter, you're going to have less of that because I don't know if you guys find this, or maybe it's just us in the UK because we have so much rain, but I don't have to poo pick my horse's fields as much in the winter because the rain pretty much just washes all the manure away. It's gone. It's just disintegrated, especially in Mickey and Duke's paddock. It's not there. It's gone. It's washed away. So yeah, that is one thing, less poo picking. And then there's less kind of all of the grass is shorter as well, so you don't have to worry about it tickling your legs, especially in the summer when you're wearing shorts and you're walking around. Bugs as well. There are less bugs in the winter. You don't have to worry about getting bitten by horse flies or mosquitoes or all that kind of stuff. Just think in the summer when your legs, I don't know if you guys like this. Tell me if this is wrong. But I'm pretty sure that scientists have done some tests behind the sort of people that get bitten more by flies and that kind of thing. And I think it's down to your blood type. So I don't know what it is. I must have really tasty blood because I am the mosquito magnet in the summer. All the flies go for me. Whoever I'm with, I am the one they go for. Everyone goes around scot-free. No bites at all. I am that person. So that is one thing you don't have to worry about in the winter. You're not going to get any bug bites. You're not going to be going to sleep at night having this really itchy leg where you've been bitten by a horsefly. You just want to scratch it, but you aren't supposed to scratch it and it's just there. You're not going to have that. It's winter. All of the bugs, bye-bye. They are gone. So that's one other thing you don't have to worry about. Also, if you have a horse that's prone to laminitis like my ones, you don't have to worry as much in the winter about laminitis because the grass is shorter, there's less light, so the grass isn't going to grow as quickly, it's not going to be as sugary. Would be careful if you do have a frost. Your horses are not supposed to eat frosty grass, but a lot of the time, if your horses are like mine, they have a nice little mud field. So laminitis, also if you have a horse that in the summer, in the autumn and the spring, you really struggle to keep weight off it, the winter is your month. Oh my gosh, Casper is one of those horses. He is such a good doer. He is a chunky boy. But when the winter comes around, this is he slims down. He slims down great. It is perfect. There's less food. Obviously, they're a little bit colder. They use that their energy for insulation, all that kind of stuff. Oh my goodness. this, for all of the people that have good doer ponies and horses, this is your time to shine, because you best believe your horses are probably going to be looking the best they have ever looked in the winter. Like, let me tell you. Also, another thing about the winter that is great, if you're somebody who has a horse that in the summer they're a little bit more lazy, they're a little bit more potato, they're just like a little beach donkey. Like, I have that sometimes, like in the summer when it's so hot and you go for a ride and it's really hot and you're just like, oh, like you just feel so lazy and so defeated, and you're just like, oh, I don't know if I want to do a schooling session, I'm just going to go for a hack. I'm just going to go for a nice little chilled hack. And then a week goes by and you're like, I've just hacked every single day this week and I've done no schooling, and me and my horse, we're just lazy. In the winter, you best believe that your lazy horses, they have a personality change, or mine do anyway. Some might just stay lazy. But Casper, in the summer, he is like a beached whale. He does not care. He is just like, I just want to plod along, and that's fine. But in the winter, it's like, wow, my legs aren't aching as much when I'm riding because this boy is off. He's going. Like, my arms get a workout instead, to be honest. Like, he is ready to go. And it's like, wow, I've got this speedy little pony now. So if you have a horse that's lazy in the summer, in the winter, this is your time to shine. The winter is not your month. It's longer than a month. Anyway, this is your season to shine. Like even Joey, like in the winter, I find that when it comes to flat work and things, like he is ready to go. He finds it more exciting. He's like, woo woo. He just has that little bit more spice, a little bit more speed. And you know what? I'm not going to complain. Sometimes it's fun, you know? You don't have to use your legs as much, and they're ready to go. So another pro for winter, you know? It's almost like I planned this podcast. Anyway. Also, when it comes to riding, you might be like, but Esme, what about when it's really wet and really cold and really horrible? Well, I have a quote, and that is, it is never bad weather, you're just wearing the wrong clothing. And if you have the right clothing, then you're not going to be cold and you're not going to be wet. You're going to be great. And also, just think in the winter when it's a really horrible day outside, just think, you know what? I am so grateful for having horses in my life because, number one, horses are amazing. We all know that. But also, number two, you have something that is going to force you to go outside. Like I feel like in the winter, all of us just want to go inside in our little cocoon, under a blanket, in front of the fire, watch telly, and just rot and just cozy and cocoon and hibernate. But you know what? We have horses, and they are going to get you outside. They're going to get you some fresh air, get rid of that cabin fever. You're going to go out and you're going to feel great. And then, you know what? You're not going to feel like a slug when you cocoon and cozy in the evening. You're going to feel like, I deserved this. I deserve to be under this lovely cozy blanket with like a hot drink or that kind of thing, and you're going to feel so content. But if you've been doing that all day, you're going to feel sloppy, you're going to feel sluggish, you're going to feel like a worthless human being, you're going to be like, I have just laid here all day, what have I done with my life? But if you've gone outside and you've got cold and you've got wet and you come in, boom, it's the best feeling. A nice hot bath after being out with the horses all day. There is no feeling like that. You do not get that feeling in the summer. You cannot tell me that there is a feeling like that in the summer because, oh my gosh, that in the winter, brilliant. Also, as I said before, you know, make sure you have the right clothing. Waterproof trousers, just a really long waterproof coat. Might I mention the Esme All Elements coat in my collaboration with Lemire that I've done recently. Sorry, I hate to be that person. But you know what? It's my job. I got to promote my things. So I've done a coat recently with Lemire, which is like, it's the All Elements coat, and it is the ultimate duvet coat because you can ride in it as well. It's got all the zips that do up, so you don't feel like a couch potato when you're riding. Like, I have ridden in some big puffy coats in my time, or like multiple layers when riding. When you have so many layers on, you do just feel like a potato and you feel like you can't move. This coat, you can ride in, you can move in it. It also keeps quite a lot of the horse dry as well because the back bit goes out quite a lot. So Joey's likes it. He keeps his back warm and dry. But no, so if you're in the market for a new winter coat, please check out the Esme All Elements coat. But anyway, back to the podcast. But if you have like a long coat like that, like one thing that I can't lie, do get a little bit demotivated in the winter. It's going out to the horses when it's dark and raining and muddy to bring them in, to give them their dinner, that kind of thing. All I need to do is pop on my wellies, pop on my one coat, because I don't even need to worry about putting a hat or that kind of thing on, because I put my hood up, tied up, boom. I am mud resistant. Because the coat is so long and my wellies go up so high, I do not have to, if I'm wearing a cute outfit and I'm going out for dinner with some friends afterwards, I don't have to worry about getting muddy. I can go from the cottage to my house, do the horses, and then go on my merry way to whatever I'm doing that evening. Perfect. That coat and wellies, mud, it is like my little mud sheet. So when I bring the horses in, I'm in my own little cocoon. Perfect. Love it. And also, if you do have to go out to your animals in the dark and the cold, just think, I am so excited. I'm going to go and see my best friends. And once you're out there, it's like getting in a cold lake or a cold shower or that kind of thing. When you first do it, you're just like, oh, I don't want to do it. But when you're actually in, you warm up, you have great fun, and you're like, why was I so demotivated in the first place? Like, when you get out there and you're with your besties, you're with your horses, and you haven't given them cuddles, and they're being super cute, and they're super affectionate, and you give them treats, and they're so happy to have their dinner, you're just like, why was I demotivated to come out here in the first place? I am literally with my best buddies, and we're all having a great time. So think of that as well when you're demotivated to go out in the cold and the wet. Also, I know in some places it can get really cold. We do get snow sometimes, but not all the time where I am. But when it does snow, it is beautiful. Like, everywhere is covered in this white fluffy powder. It's so pretty. Everything just looks so aesthetic. Think of the cute photos that you can take with your horses when it snows. Like, I feel like all of my friends, as soon as it snows, especially where I live, everyone is heading onto Instagram. They are posting pictures with their pets, with their loved ones, with everyone out in the snow, because like, this is a novelty. We don't get it very often. And if you get snow all the time, just think of us in the UK being so pathetic when there's like a sprinkle of snow. Like, I'm talking like a little dusting, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, it snowed. Think of that. Think of how much snow you guys have. I mean, you're just flexing over here, actually, with the amount of snow that you guys can get, especially in like Canada and places like that. So, and also, there's a lot of like fun things that you can do when it does snow. You can go sledging, you can do all that kind of stuff. And you might be thinking, but Esme, what about when you only have an outdoor arena, or you don't even have an arena at all at your horse yard, and you can't even ride? Well, let me tell you this. There is a cloud there's a silver lining to every cloud. And one thing I had last winter, I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. I've got a horse on box rest, the arena is frozen, all this kind of stuff. When Joey was on box rest, one thing that I learned, when all I could do with him was lead him. And also, I own Duke and Mickey, who are two horses that I cannot ride. For Mickey's reason, he is too old, he is now retired and has multiple health issues. And for Duke's reason, he is a baby and is also only about 10 hands high. So if I was to ride him, he would be squished. So I own two horses, and for a while it was three when Joey was injured, that I could not ride. But I have so much joy having those horses in my life. And I remember when I first got Duke, I had so many people say to me, but why did you get him? You can't even ride him. He's too small. He's too young. Like, all this kind of stuff. He's a rescue. And I was like, excuse me. Think of basically every single pet that there is out there that people own. Horses, and maybe somebody who has like a camel or something, I don't know, like, or donkeys as well. They are the only animals or pets that people have that people really ride. Like, you're not going to go, oh, sorry, mate, not going to buy that guinea pig. I can't ride it, are you? Or, that hamster, I'm sorry, it just can't jump high enough. Like, what in the world? Or, like, if somebody does, like, dog agility with their dog, and now they're old and they can't go as fast, they're like, you know what? It's a bit old now. I'm going to just get rid of it. Like, no, you don't do that. Like, horses are our family members. They're our pets. And Mickey, he's too old. I still love him. I still have him in my life. I take him on walks. We have big cuddles. He it's just so much of having horses in your life is actually just looking after them. Well, obviously there are professional riders out there and all they do is ride, or there are people that go to the riding school and that's all they can physically do in their life because they're either too busy or money or that kind of thing. Like, I understand that, but For a lot of people, when it comes to having horses in your life, if that's a share horse or a lone horse, that kind of thing, you're mucking them out. You're giving them their breakfast in the morning. You're going out in the rain and the cold and that kind of thing. A very small percentage for most people when it comes to having horses in their life is actually riding the horse. So if you can't ride the horse for a week because your arena's frozen, it's not the end of the world. And you can do so much more with your horses as well than just ride them. Like, when Joey had his injury and when we were bringing him back into work, it made me realise how important groundwork is. And groundwork is something that can really, especially if you have a new horse or a horse you're getting to know or that kind of thing, doing groundwork is so great for improving your bond, getting to know your horse, and just like it can improve what you do when you actually ride so much, especially with your flat work and schooling and that kind of thing. Like, I found just walking Joey around over raised poles, which I did for I don't know how many weeks, but it felt like a very long time in the middle of winter when we were rehabbing him. That was so good, and I still do that with him today. Like, sometimes I have a day where I'm like, oh, it's really windy today, or I don't feel motivated, or maybe I've been to the gym the day before and my legs are aching, or I've had physio the day before and they're like, Esme, do not do any exercise. Then I'll take Joey for a little walk around the arena, we'll do some raised poles, I'll ask him to back up and that kind of thing. And just having that relationship with your horse and teaching them those manners and those different things is so beneficial. And sometimes you can get into the rut of, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. And then it just breaks things up a little bit. And it's important to spend time with your horses, not just on their back, but on the ground as well, and develop that relationship with them. So if your arena is frozen, go for a little walkies, set up some little fun ground poles and that kind of thing. And even if your arena isn't frozen and you can still ride, and maybe you can't hack across the bridle path as much because it's too muddy, or you can't do X, Y, or Z because of the weather, schooling and pole work, I feel like in the winter, I come up with the best pole work exercises, or the best kind of schooling exercises. It really makes you creative if you can't go out as much, or you maybe aren't competing or showing as much because there aren't as many shows on because it's the winter. There is so much more that you can do with your horses, so always remember that. Another pro for winter, now this might just be where I am, but we have a local indoor arena, and in the summer, they don't put the jumps out because they know most people, they're going off cross country, they're going off here, there and everywhere. They're probably not really thinking about indoor arenas. But indoor arenas in the winter, I love, because number one, whatever the weather, you are going to have a great ride. You don't have to worry about the wind, the rain, you are indoors. And even in the summer, sometimes we have storms, sometimes we have the wind, we have the rain. It's perfect, guaranteed. Boom. Because sometimes, you know, we have British summers. They can be quite rainy. I'm like, should I do an arena hire this week? Maybe not. I'll check on the weather, that kind of thing. Especially in like the spring or the autumn, where it's like kind of that in-between weather where it's not quite summer yet. In the winter, go to an indoor. Boom. Easy. Now, I know not everybody has an indoor arena near them, and not everybody has an indoor arena at their yard. I don't. But if you have our local one in the winter, they hire it out all the time. In the summer, not so much. So that's another thing that I'm personally, I know this is more of like a personal one, but I'm looking forward to going and hiring out that indoor arena, because in the winter, they put all the jumps out for you. In the summer, they don't bother because they know not as many people go. So I'm excited for some indoor jumping and the indoor season in general, because some people might be like, oh, but indoor arenas, they're always so much smaller and that kind of thing. Indoor arenas, they are so good. So good if you're a show jumper for getting your jumping brilliant. And you might be like, but what do you mean? They're smaller. Yes. Smaller equals less space equals the jumps coming up a lot quicker to you. And do you know what that means? It means you need to get your canter good, you need to get your straightness good, you need to get your impulsion, like you need to get everything in check quick. And when I tell you that makes you a much better rider and a much more efficient, it is more difficult. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it. It is more difficult being in a smaller, tight arena, especially if you have a big old horse. Especially like if you're on a little pony, you can do the jump off turns a little bit tight, that kind of thing. But if you have like a big old horse that you're riding around, it feels like you're driving a barge or that kind of thing, then it is more difficult, but it is great. So that's one thing that I have learned. So take that with a pinch of salt. Talking about indoors, There are also all of the indoor big shows that we have in the UK. Now, I know this is going to be a little bit more UK centric because one thing that I have learnt over my years of being in the equestrian industry is that us guys in the UK, we have it so good when it comes to top level equestrian sport. Like in the summer, we have 2 5-star eventing events and there are only like 7 in the world. So to have 2 in one country, I'm repping the British people here. But also, we have so many like indoor shows where when you think of other countries, that's just not as much of a thing. Like we have a Horse of the Year show that's just been and gone. We have Your Horse Live that's coming up. We have the London International Horse Show. Like the London International Horse Show, that is huge. That I have been to that show, and I know I do work with the show, and I am doing meet and greets at the show this year. They haven't, they haven't told me to say this on the podcast, but I'm saying it because I'm a big fan of the show as well, even though I am working with them. Just want to disclose that because I don't want to get told off. But anyway, I have been to that show every single year since I was 8 or 9. Like when I first started going, I would go on the Pony Club Express with my pony club, and that was incredible. And then they've moved it to the XL, which I think is better and bigger. And the Christmas vibes, like the Christmas trees, that kind of thing. I honestly, when I tell you this, my family, like it was the, and it probably still is, the highlight of my year. I would, every Christmas, I would think I would get more excited for this horse show than Christmas itself, because it is just a horse girl's dream. All of my family members knew when I got to a certain age not to buy me anything for Christmas. Like Christmas Day, I would have no presents, because I would just say, please, I don't want any presents. I just want money so I can spend it at the shopping. And I know that sounds really like horrible or demanding, but my grandparents and like my parents, they were so happy with that, because they were like, brilliant. We don't have to stress or worry about buying her Christmas presents. And we don't have to worry because none of my family members are horsey, and they knew that all I wanted was horsey stuff. They were like, great, she can pick out something that she actually likes. We don't have to worry about getting something, her not liking it and returning it. We can just give her the money. She can go off and have a fab time at Olympia, or now the London International Horse Show. Brilliant. So that is what I would do with my family members each year, because like I wouldn't say I'm a fussy person, but I know what I like. So when I did get to a certain age, my parents were like, yep, there we go. Also, when it came to like money and things, having a sibling, they also wanted to make it fair as well. So they were like, this is brilliant. We can see what we've spent on Max, my younger brother, and just give Esme the equivalent money. Perfect. Nice and fair and even. Easy. So that's what I would do. And I would be shopping there next level. So yeah. And also just being in an indoor show. Oh, it's warm. I don't know what it is. Indoor horse shows in the winter. You walk in and there's this waft of warm horse smell. Some people will know what I mean if you've been to one of these before, but it's weird because as an equestrian, we're used to horse smell. Like we are nose blind, like we're used to it, that kind of thing. But when you go to one of these indoor horse shows, it's weird because it's like a warm horse smell, but also it's a horse smell, but it's not your barn or your stables. You're like, this smells like this is not my horse. This is somebody else's horse. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, that smell when you first walk in gets me every single time. Sorry, that sounds so weird. I feel like this is such like horse girl energy right now, me saying that. Anybody else who's not horsey is going to be like, Esme, what on earth are you talking about? But if you know, you know, okay? Now, the last thing that you might be being like, but Esme, okay. So the last thing you might be saying is, but Esme, in the winter, it is so much darker. We have so much less like daylight hours. Like, how can that be a benefit? Let me tell you. So, yesterday, I exercised both horses first thing, then went out shopping with my friend. We were gone for the whole day to our local city. Now, when I tell you, in the summer, I probably wouldn't have ridden the horses, and you're like, Esme, what do you mean? What do you mean you probably wouldn't have ridden the horses that day? Well, in the summer, you think, oh, I've got all the time in the world. You think, oh, like, I don't have to get up really early and ride them first thing. Like, I can just do it in the evening when I'm back. And then when you're back from the evening, you're either tired or maybe you decide to stay out longer than expected. And then by the time you get back home, it's 9 p.m. And you're like, the horses are now going to bed. Like, I don't have time to ride, that kind of thing. But in the winter, if you want to ride your horse or if you want to go to the stables, you will plan it and you will make that time, because when I tell you, you will, like what I did yesterday, I woke up like when it was still dark outside, and some people are like, oh my gosh, I hate that. If I wake up when it's dark outside, I don't want to sound, arrogant or that kind of thing, but when I wake up and it's dark outside, I'm just like, wow, I am so much better than everybody else. No, I'm joking, but you know what I mean. When you wake up and it's dark outside, you just feel so great because you're like, wow, I'm up, I'm seizing the day. Like in the summer, even if you wake up at sunrise, like that's 4 a.m, and who is doing that? But like you can't do that in the summer. In the summer, you're waking up and the sun has already risen. You don't even get to see the sunrise unless you do an all-nighter or you wake up at the crack of dawn, which who is doing that? Anyway, but in the winter, when you wake up and it's still dark outside, you're like, wow, I can watch the sunrise. I can get to the horses as soon as it's light. Perfect. Ride them. Done. In the summer, you're probably not doing that. You probably rode the evening before and you're like, you know what, the horses can have a week off, you might be thinking, you know what, the horses, they can have a day off or whatever, like they've been ridden a lot this week. In the winter, you will make that time and you will be efficient. You know what, I am somebody who loves an early start. Like I just love getting the stuff done first thing in the morning, and in the evenings, like evening rides, time can get away with you, it gets dark, that kind of thing. But a morning ride first thing on a weekend morning in the winter, oh my goodness. And when it's frosty outside, you see the sunrise, and then it's like a nice sunny day, but it's cold and crisp. Oh, nothing is better. Like that is incredible. Although yesterday when I rode first thing, actually I managed to beat the rain. I took both horses on a hack, boom, 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 beat the rain, had brunch with my family at 10 a.m. Then my friend came over and we went to the city and had a girls' city day out. And when I say that, I felt great because I got my exercise done first thing in the morning, got the horses done first thing in the morning. I felt so productive. And then when I got back after my little city day out, I was exhausted. I did a lot of walking, did a lot of carrying, shopping bags, that kind of thing. Like in the summer, I would not have gone and ridden my horses. And you know what? When I got home, I had my dinner on the sofa, I watched some Netflix, and I fell asleep. And I felt so great, lying in my little cocoon, cozying up. Perfect. And also, a lot of, actually, we don't have this. I feel like a lot of places, a lot of horse yards that do have an arena, they have floodlights. And you know what? Sometimes I find riding in the dark so much fun. I don't know what it is. Like, again, if you have a lazy horse, ride them in the dark. Obviously, make sure you're not going to crash into anything. Make sure there is like floodlights or whatever. But oh my gosh, like Casper, if I ride him in the dark, he is like a different horse. He is Mr. Speedy Gonzales. He is going off. He is zooming about. And I'm like, woo, I feel like a little kid again, like a little Shetland. Like his little legs go so fast. Anyway, so that's another thing. Yeah, you can always make time. You can always make time. One other thing I find, a lot of people, their winter is very different to their summer, and that is due to timings. Now, some people, they might find, you know what? In the winter, I am so much busier. There's like lots of Christmas activities, meeting up with friends and family, that kind of thing. And you know what? The winter is a great time. I know a lot of eventers do this, is that January, February, or December, January, they give their horses a holiday. And you know what? It's okay to give your horses a holiday. And the winter is probably the best time to do that because there are less horse shows on, there's less stuff going on. Do that. Or if you find, you know what? The summer, like for me personally, I find the summer is a super busy time for me work-wise. So I find in the summer, I don't have as much time to, go and take my horses doing things. But in the winter, when things are a little bit quieter, I can work really hard on my flat work. I can work really hard on my sort of equestrian goals. So if you're busy or you're not busy, again, think of the positives in everything. So on that note, I'm going to finish off today's podcast episode there. I really hope that you feel a lot better about going into kind of autumn, winter with your horses if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it and maybe feeling a bit more positive and upbeat about tackling the winter months ahead of us. And if you enjoyed today's podcast episode, or you have a fellow equestrian that is going into winter and is feeling a little bit sad and dreary about it, send them this podcast, because you never know, It might change their perspective. It might bring a little bit of sunshine and sparkle into their day. I don't know where sunshine and sparkle came from, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to finish it there. Just want to say another huge thank you to Red Post for sponsoring the podcast. Again, make sure you get all of your winter equestrian essentials from there at redpostequestrian.co.uk. And I'll see you all in the next podcast episode. See ya. Bye.